All right. Welcome to the School of Programming info session. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, so let's just dive right in. So, Jalen, why don't you walk us through our agenda?
Sounds good. So this morning we'll be starting off with an overview of what is Udacity. So you guys, for those who are not familiar with who we are, we're gonna be introducing what we offer and what our paradigm is. And secondly, we'll be talking about an introduction of the schools. So specifically today, the School of Programming. So going through the products that we offer. And then next, we'll dive deeper into the nano degree programs that we offer in the School of Programming. And then following up with that, we'll be discussing how each of these programs will help you be able to reach your career goals, and then wrap up with any questions that you have.
Yeah, and so this is an info session. So make sure you, as we're going through the program, make sure you're thinking about your situation and how it applies to you, and any of the programs that or any of the nano degrees that we look at, any of the courses that we're looking at. Make sure to think about how that will apply to you, and just ask your questions. We're here, we're in the chat. Some of our colleagues are answering your questions as we're doing this live, and then we'll be able to answer some at the end. So yeah, again, this is an info session for you. So make sure you take advantage of all of this, and all of us here ready to help you answer your questions and see where this can take you in your career. So yeah, there we go. Ask questions. I was a little too early on that. So again, yeah, there's a chat here on YouTube. So make sure you just fill out that with all the questions you have. So yeah, let's do a little bit of an introduction here. So I'm Richard Kelhoff, and I've been here at Udacity for a little over 3 years. What was I? I started out doing content development. Well, I'm still doing content development, building courses, building programs here. I started out on the web team, and I've been doing the curriculum lead for the front-end program for a couple of years, and then the React nano degree program. And right now I'm working on the cybersecurity nano degree program. So that's very exciting.
So you've definitely seen a lot of changes and different programs grow throughout the years.
Yes, yes. Grow, build, yeah.
Grow, build, yeah. Mm-hmm. So for me, hi everyone, I'm Jessica Lin. So I've been here a little bit more than 4 years. Started out on our Android team, so working on our Android development nano degree, and then our Android basics product, and then now working on our blockchain developer nano degree program. So really excited to get to talk with you about the cross-section of those programs.
Yeah, and blockchain, that just recently launched, right?
We did. So wrapping up our first term and working hard on getting our second term out.
Awesome. Yeah, we're just about ready starting to launch cybersecurity real soon.
I'm excited to learn more about that one, actually.
Yeah. All right, so what is Udacity? Let's take a little look at that. So Udacity, if you're new to Udacity at all, Udacity is an online education platform that offers in-demand skills, and predominantly in the tech sphere, tech-related area. And then one of our key, I think, differentiators compared to our competitors, I guess, is that we work with industry partners heavily. I know when I worked with on the front-end programs and built a lot of our web classes, our major partner was Google. And so we did a lot of work with them. They helped come on camera with us, build the classes with us, plan everything out, do all that kind of stuff. So that's just I think something that definitely sets us apart a bit, that we are so heavily tied in with our industry partners. Because Udacity's main purpose, I guess, is getting students jobs. And so we want to partner with the industry where you would actually be getting that job, so that you know what your employer is expecting, because your employer potentially helped build this program. And then your employer knows what skills you've gained and learned throughout taking this program. So I think that's
definitely a great way to, it's industry proven. And then also you get when you get, oh, sorry, I had something I wanted to add to that, and I totally blanked on it.
No worries. There's the in-demand skills. I think that's also a key thing, because it's industry partners are there, and we build them with the industry partner. But then the industry knows exactly what skills they're looking for in people, and then they help us be we need to build a course on this. And so then they come along and say, we have to make sure students know X, Y, and Z, and then we build that into our program so that we're producing students and graduates that actually have the skills that the industry is actually looking for.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. What I was trying to say is related to that. So the industry is changing so fast, especially for tech. And so what better way than to get direct feedback from those that are building the actual products to say, hey, we're actively looking for folks who have these skills. Can you help train with this in mind? And that goes along with the fact that some people might ask, like, what's your general demographic of students? It's actually not a lot of, we do have students who are in the typical college age, but a lot of our students are those folks who are transitioning careers, folks who maybe this is like a second, third career, or maybe coming in not even from a tech background. And so we have folks who are looking to transition, but in a way that accommodates their living schedule, their working schedule. And what Richard touched on was we're an online education platform, meaning you don't have to sit in a physical space for a set amount of hours. Maybe like you have family or different responsibilities, so maybe you work best in the evening hours or in the morning hours. So you have that flexibility, but the content and the support is offered 24/7 for your lifestyle. And but we do have structure to help you get to that end goal, but it in a way that's flexible for your lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that flexibility is really key, because when I went to grad school, it was always, I had my day job, and then when I grad school, it's very like, okay, well, school, and all of a sudden quick transition to or work, and then quick transition to school time, and then like there's like no real break, and it was very structured, and I didn't like it all that much. I like the flexibility, the freedom when I started doing online classes, because I went to a traditional school, and then I switched to the traditional school's online program. That was easier, but it was still the class met at a certain time, and it was a live class, and you had to be there. And so it's a little easier that I didn't have to like go to the building and sit there, but like you have to be somewhere and sit there for the live class. So this like online and at your own pace is and at your own time is, I think, a nice time in this day and age.
Great.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the classroom. So as we said, like it's an online environment. And so the classroom really does have everything that you need to learn these skills. So we have videos that we record kind of like this, but
more produced.
More produced, we'll say. So we have those videos. As you can see here, we have a little image of the classroom right there. And so we have our videos, we have quizzes that you take so that you learn the stuff, and then we immediately test you on that skill to make sure that proves to you and to us that you have learned that skill. And so the classroom,
Oh, and speaking of testing the skill, what we built, a large part of it is the projects, right? So I think that's a foundational part of the program. So kind of think of that as your portfolio. So when you graduate, not only can you say, oh, I know XYZ skills, but you have at each milestone in every program is a project that you build. So that by the end of every program, you have maybe like 6 to 8 projects, like solid projects, GitHub repo projects that you can present to an employer and say, hey, here's a tangible project that proves the skills that I say I know, and you can really use that to substantiate your knowledge. And we work on those projects with our subject matter experts, with the companies, to say, like, are these projects really defining of what this program wants to demonstrate? So I think that's a important differentiator for our program.
Yeah, exactly. And those projects, I think, are very key, because when you're going to a job and you're like, here's my resume, these are all the things I say I can do, but then that's just what you say you can do. And sometimes it's very hard, like, oh, well, I'm good at whatever. Video editing, I'm good at whatever. Like, is it like, but how good are you? Like, if you had that project that shows this is what I built, like that's just so much more like, oh, I can clearly see as the hiring manager or whatever, you built this thing. Well, great. Now I know exactly what like you're actually capable of, as opposed to like, oh, I have skills in XYZ. Now I can see like I use those skills to produce this end result thing. I think those final projects are what's the really culminating factor here.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay.
There we are. Too early.
We keep jumping over.
Yeah, but so it really is those hands-on things. Like, you learn the skill in the classroom, and you learn it with us as your instructors and with the subject matter experts that come on, and then do some of the teaching or give the expert interviews too. But then it really is the hands-on, like that practice that's the real key of driving home that skill that you've learned.
Yeah. So. Sure. And on the side here is a really cool project from our self-driving car nano degree program. So in that program, students get to actually write code that in their final projects get to be put into our actual self-driving car that sits out in our parking lot. So they'll get to define the lanes, be able to have the car be able to differentiate like what are the moving objects that are walking in front of me, and then we have instructors actually sit in the car and have the code that the students wrote and run that car in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes even in the streets. So yeah, we really make sure like the knowledge that you learn is really actually practical, and even putting our lives at risk sometimes in the cars to drive around for it. So
the sacrifice.
Exactly.
We do.
We really trust it.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, that's all to get you, the student, to have this hands-on experience to get a real job in the end. I mean, that is the goal here. So we've talked about our classroom and then like our subject matter experts and the projects, but that's just part of your nanny degree experience and journey going through that. So there are a lot of things. I mean, learning is hard, and having learned in the classroom, in a live classroom, and then having learned online, and then having taught in a live classroom and taught online, they're very different. And it can be hard to transition to an online classroom sometimes. And we definitely understand that. And so we have like a lot of services that we offer as support for nanny degree students to help you through that learning journey, to like just progress through and to help you get unstuck if you do encounter something that you just don't understand the material, or if you get a little bit lost on something. We have all these services to help you. So let's dig in a little bit.
That's good. So community support. Learning, like Richard mentioned, especially in an online platform, it can kind of feel isolating, right? Because it's just you and the computer, but it shouldn't be so, because learning is a very community-oriented experience. And a lot of the times, the most like largest learning experiences are those where you maybe mess up and then you actually get feedback. I know for me personally, like that's where my biggest learnings come from. And a lot of that comes from working with others. So we have a community to interact not only with other students in your class, but also our mentors. So our mentors they have experience in the classroom. They're like vetted in the program. They're able to help both answer technical as well as just conceptual questions, as well as just even learning practices. Learning in an online platform is a different experience from learning online. So how do you stay motivated, get that feedback in a way that's helpful in an asynchronous manner? You want to talk about project reviews? So
Sure.
That's a really cool one.
Yeah, project reviews is I think one of our differentiators too is a company. So when we were talking about those projects, those big things that show the skills that you've learned. Those are not just like you build it and like, look, here you go, it's on my website, now I'm done. Those projects you take and you submit to us and we review them, so we make sure you actually did learn the material and that you did I wouldn't say like a good job doing the actual project, building it, writing the code, designing the systems, whatever the project might be. And we have project reviewers that will take your project when you submit it, go through all of the files, go through all the material, build it, whatever it is. They'll review everything and give you like line-by-line feedback on your project, on your code. How did you write it? Did you write it in a way that's like the industry standard way of doing that? Or did you do it some other way? I mean, like with lots of things, like you can go a zillion different routes to get to the end goal, but they can show you like alternative pathways of how you can accomplish some specific task or whatnot. And so even if you got it right and it was functioning when you submitted it, you'll pass, but then they'll give you advice like, well, you could also do it this way, and why don't you check out these resources or whatever that can like maybe further explain it or help you to construct it more in a way that would be easier to update it or something like that. So there's lots of feedback that's given to you on these projects that will help you to grow and to learn new skills, even if you pass the project initially. It's super helpful. And I know that learning a project or learning a skill, the feedback that you get really can reinforce that, yes, I did it correctly. Because you might be able to like do something and it's working, and then you're kind of like, I'm not really sure why it's working. It's working right. I don't want to touch it because I don't want it to break. Exactly. Yeah. But so once you submit it, then they can you'll get that reinforcement. This is working because whatever, or great job here. This is exactly what you need to do. Then you're like, okay, this is just solidifying what I did. So yeah, the project reviews are a great part of the Udacity program.
Ooh, okay. Talking about
career support.
Yeah, so like we've been driving towards programs are career oriented. So there are some of the programs which we'll touch on that are more beginner level. But for those that are career focused, career ready, we offer encompassing like career support. So what does that mean? So there's reviews of your LinkedIn and GitHub profiles. Not only that, it's one, finding a job I know is definitely tough, but to have the feedback for that as well is like, how do you build a LinkedIn profile that's both broadcast the work that you have done, as well as for those for recruiters who are looking for you, makes it easier for them to find you. Like, how do you create a LinkedIn profile that does that effectively? And similarly for the GitHub profiles, you've created these amazing projects, but how do you mold your GitHub profiles to be, one, engaging for users who are looking through your projects, as well as just really highlighting the skills and work that you've done. So we have a career portal in the Career Ready Nanodegree programs that offer almost like a series of courses around that that really guide you through that process. And we have career coaches, and really building out that experience for students who are looking for jobs.
So like someone on our careers team will look at your LinkedIn profile and will go through it and be like, help you craft it in a way to get a specific job. So if there's a job you're looking for, they'll help you craft your like online resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your GitHub account to like gear towards that specific job. And then like with the career portals, like Jessica was saying, like the resources, some of them are like you can meet with someone to do like mock interviews. And so like you can get practice if interviewing is a little terrifying. Yeah. I mean, it's a little scary. Yeah. So like doing these mock interviews, I think is a great way to just get practice, because really that's it, just the more practice, you'll just get more comfortable with it. And you're like, oh yeah, I've done this thing like 5 times already. Exactly, so then when you go to the real one, you'll be super nervous, but you won't be like terrified.
Yeah, exactly. You know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you'll have practice and you'll get your answers down, and you'll know exactly like what it is, what you want to say, and how you want to say it to like really put your skills and the things you've learned in the best light.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great time to reflect upon yourself too. I think even casually interacting with our career coaches, I've really enjoyed just getting their insight as to how they develop our students, like helping the students recognize like their own skills. Like they've students going through these programs, like I won't say like they're easy, like they're definitely rigorous material, but it means like by the end of it, like you are solid in what you know, and helping people recognize like, oh wow, I've actually done so much and learned so much. Just really, really proud of what they've done.
That's something on the learning team that we're on, is building that learning material. Something that I've gotten feedback from the career coaches is that we need to stress to the students that how much they've learned, because like when the student will go to one of these career things and do a mock interview, supposedly that the student will act like they don't know a lot, and it's like, no, you've gone through so much material, you've learned so many things, you've built so many projects. But like those career coaches will just help like, no, you actually know this. And then once they start asking them all these questions and like doing these like mock interviews, then the student really realizes, oh, I actually do know this. I'm actually exactly. Yeah. So that's again another thing to help students get jobs. Like this is what we're trying to teach you the material, help you with the online learning, help you with the interviews, and then build your online presence with like LinkedIn and GitHub to like just to get you a job if you're interested in switching careers, like Jessica was saying, or advancing in your current career or something. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about nanodegrees. Okay. So a nanodegree is a collection of these courses that we build that are based on in-demand skills that we've talked about, built with subject matter experts and companies and organizations. And because they're built with these industry leaders, we usually build more on the like cutting edge of the content. And like as we've said several times now, we end up building, or the student ends up building these portfolio-ready projects for them to display to the potential employers. And so we're not an accredited institution, but we do work with these industry leaders, and so we are an industry recognized or credential, the nanodegree is. And so I know that like Google will like look at our graduates, and Facebook and AT&T and I don't know, a bunch of other people.
Exactly.
So yeah. Anything to add to this?
No, I think you summed it up.
All right,
Yeah,
so let's move on.
Right.
So yeah, so why don't you take this?
Oh, sure.
It's fun.
Okay, so looking at so you got Udacity, and under that we have our schools. So we've broken up our programs into schools to really encapsulate the programs that are related, so to build upon those. So what are schools? Like I mentioned, they're a collection of our nano degree programs that are focused on a set of skills. So for us today, we're talking about the school programming. So how about let's just jump in and see a graphic of that.
Just dive right in.
Yeah, why not? So we got a couple of schools. We got our artificial intelligence, School of Data Science, School of Programming, which we'll be highlighting today, School of Autonomous Systems, and School of Business. So if you are interested in any of the other schools, there are open houses for those. But today we'll be talking about the School of Programming.
And yeah, just to rehash again, this school is a collection of nanodegrees, which we'll be looking at, the School of Programming. So what is the School of Programming? So these are our different paths in the School of Programming. So we have the fundamentals path, which is the Intro to Nanodegree Intro to Programming Nanodegree. So this is a nanodegree that's all about the introduction to programming. So if you're new to programming, or if you don't have any programming skills yet and you're interested in learning how to program and want to dive into this world of coding, you could start here on the fundamentals path and take the Intro to Programming Nanodegree, and then you could move on to the Android Basics program, a nanodegree program. So that's the fundamentals path. There are a couple of nanodegree programs in that path. Then the front-end web developer, which is the one I was in charge of, you can start out with the Intro to Programming Nanodegree. From there, once you graduate that one, you'd be set to take the actual front-end web developer nanodegree program. And then from there, you could take the mobile web specialist or the React nanodegree program. So again, these are paths. These are just routes you can take. And like just to be clear, you don't actually have to start at the top and like work your way down. If you already know how to program and you just want to like jump right into, I want to be a front-end web developer, just go right to that. We're just trying to guide students towards like if you are new to this, like where do I start? Where do I go next? How do I do this? These are the paths that help guide you from like potentially an absolute beginner all the way to like I could be a React professional.
And kind of if you want to work backwards too and say like, oh, I know some programming, but like do I know enough to move on to front-end developer? Maybe like look through the content of the Intro to Programming nanodegree and say like, do I feel comfortable with these these topics? If so, let me just move ahead to the front-end developer program.
And typically, like for front-end is right there in the middle. Typically, we'll say you need the skills that were taught in Intro to Programming. So go look at that if you wanted to have an idea of what you would need, what's expected for you to be successful in this program. So that's the front end. In the back end, we start with Intro to Programming again. It's a kind of a base here for all of these schools. Then you go right from that into full stack web developer. And then you can go from there to our cybersecurity program, which hasn't been fully released yet, but that's what's coming up. And then blockchain, your program.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
And then more on the phone side of things, we have the iOS developer. And you start with Intro to Programming again, and then you go to the iOS developer nanodegree program. And then last is the Android developer. And then this one, they have built out, this school has built out their own intro program. So this isn't the Intro to Programming nanodegree like all the others have. There's Android Basics is what you would start with. And then from there, you would move on to the Android developer nanodegree program. So each of the ones in blue on this were nanodegree programs. But then the white ones along the top are the paths that you could follow, go down. So
nice. Let's look at a nanodegree program.
Yeah, let's dive into one of these programs here. So I'll talk about a little bit about the front-end web developer nanodegree program. So I was the curriculum lead for that. And as I said a little bit ago, that a nanodegree program is built of a collection of courses that you go through. That's in our classroom interface. That's a little bit hard to see that like, oh, I'm going into a course, because we lay it all out like in this linear path. Like you start here and you go through it. But like when we're building it, it's more like a course by course by course thing. And then we build up this nanodegree of a collection of courses. So you start out, the very first course that you get to is this Web Foundations course. And so we go over some of the HTML and some of the CSS and some of the JavaScript stuff that you would have learned in Intro to Programming, and we just do a little recap of that and then dive a little bit deeper into that material. And then as we said earlier, these projects are like the big things that we're trying to get students to build at the end of the programs to put into their portfolio that will then help them get jobs. So most of our courses do have an associated project with that course. So for Web Foundations, you build a portfolio project. So that's actually, I think, a funny thing for us, and in the front end specifically. We're trying to get students a portfolio of projects, and then your first project is to build a portfolio website so that you can put and display all of your projects. And like, look, I'm a front-end web developer. Here's my front-end website that now displays all of my other. So it's kind of meta.
Preparing them, yeah, exactly. It is meta. It's like Inception.
Exactly. So then from the Web Foundations, we move to JavaScript in the DOM, and you learn that you learn about how to work with JavaScript, how to control the DOM. That's, if you're not aware what that is, that's the browser and controlling stuff on the page. And then you do a memory game project, and I love playing memory game with my nephews. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, so you build an actual memory game project where you click around and tiles flip over and matching things together. From there, we have a web accessibility course, which doesn't have an associated project, but you learn about how to make the web accessible, how to make your sites accessible. Then there's an object-oriented JavaScript course where we do an arcade game.
Ooh.
Then we have a JavaScript tools and testing course, and there we do the project is feed reader testing. So there's a feed reader, and you have to build test suite for it to make sure that the new codes and the new functionality you add pass the test and don't break anything. So you learn about how to do testing with JavaScript. And then we end with a front-end applications course. And then the final project for that is a restaurant reviews app. So where you have this restaurant style system, and then you have to people can add reviews and yeah.
Very, so it's very Yelpish. Yeah, it's incorporates all the stuff up until that point.
Yes, cool. Yeah. So the prerequisites for the front-end web developer nanodegree program are some of the things that you learn in the Intro to Programming, which would be like HTML, CSS, but a lot of it, because the front-end web developer program, you learn more HTML and CSS, but a lot of it is just layering on that JavaScript skill. So you're layering that on and on and on. So you need to have a solid foundation of JavaScript, really, to start this program. So the Intro to Programming nanodegree does get you to that starting spot where you learn HTML, CSS, and then you do have a solid foundation in JavaScript through that Intro to Programming nanodegree program.
That's cool. All right,
Android Basics.
Ooh, let's start. Okay, let's jump into Android Basics nanodegree. So this one is, like the name says, it's a basic program. So it was built in collaboration with Google. So who else knows Android better than Google themselves? So it was built closely with them. So let's talk about the courses that are in this program. So first off, we start with the user interface. So like I said before, this is a beginner program. So getting folks who have absolutely no programming experience and getting them to be able to develop actual working apps by the end of it. So we start off with the user interface. So talking about what's a layout, how do you build the layout? So think about going from design to taking that into the program. So the project associated with this is building a really simple small business, a single screen app. So thinking of who's in your community, what needs do they have? How can I create a single screen app that that they can start using? And then moving on to that, so we have the user input part. So that course is broken up into 2 parts. And so with that, we have the working interface, the layout, and so how do we have someone be able to tap some buttons and have an experience appear? So starting with a scorekeeper app where you can keep live score of maybe like your favorite sports team or favorite maybe you watch Game of Thrones and you competing team, I don't know, competing families or whatnot. Be able to have user input stored and displayed in your app. And then moving on to that, we have a quiz app. So being able to have user-generated data and then have that be responsive in the app. So there's a lot of those features, as well as through this program, you'll be learning the Java language. So Android's built between Java and Kotlin. But Java is, I guess, the legacy language for Android. So you do get to learn a lot of the so we're teaching you the foundations of the Java language through Android. So you get to learn OOP skills as well as third-party library usage just through these programs. So moving on, we have you move on from your single screen experience to your multi-screen apps. So in that course, it's broken up into 2 projects. We have our musical structure app where you start learning how to input audio as well as visual design. And so really building out the app experience. And so then moving on to that, we have our tour guide app. So we're kind of tying all those pieces together to really build out a more a fuller user experience. So how do you create an app that showcases your favorite city to someone? So building out those components, and then at the end we tie it all together in our networking course. So this means getting to actually pull live data from an API, be able to understand like HTTP networking, JSON parsing and threading, and like all these. If these terms don't make sense to you, definitely take a look into this course. But being able to pull live data, so not things aren't just static. So we culminate that in our news app. So you actually get to pull news feeder information and have a fully functioning app that you can actually pull up in the morning and see what the daily news is. So that's, I think, a really powerful skill to be able to culminate with by the end of a basics program.
Yeah, because this is Android Basics. This isn't the like Android developer program. This is the basic one. So this is like your intro one.
Yeah,
and this seems like quite a big project to show, like at the end, like I started and I potentially didn't know anything in Android, and now look at me, I'm building a fully functioning app that's pulling in live data, and like that's an awesome looking project.
Our courses are definitely rigorous, but they teach you a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, the prereqs for this one. So like I said before, this is an intro course, so just come in motivated to learn. We do ask that you have a basic some basic computer skills, so be able to manage some files, be able to navigate around the internet, run programs, as well as just the technical requirements of having a computer that can run the Android Studio development environment.
Ooh. Cybersecurity. So the program I'm working on right now.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one.
So this program, nanodegree program, is released in 2 terms. So the first term, and again, a nanodegree is a collection of courses. We've grouped our courses into one set of 4 and then one set of 3. So it doesn't really change anything. You still get these 7 courses. But so the first term, these first grouping of courses, so we start with the introduction. So the introduction to what the program is, what a nanodegree is. If you're a new Udacity student, you'll see who your instructors are, who are our experts, who are our advisors for the program. You'll learn about the projects you'll build. So it's an introduction to the whole cybersecurity nanodegree program, that course. But then we do a little bit of instruction, and then we just toss you right into your first project, where you build this cloud infrastructure on a cloud service provider. And so we have step-by-step guidance doing all that along the way. But then, I mean, right at the beginning, right in your introductory course, you're building a project that you can then look me and like I built this platform out on the web. So and then we'll build on that project throughout like some of the other courses, and then you'll be using those skills to like as you progress through. So that was the introductory course, introduction. Then you move on to the fundamentals, where you learn about like operating systems and networking and APIs, things that are used all the time on the web and web platforms and everything. But you need to know how those work, so that then we can talk about like later how to secure those and how to actually like build those in a secure way. So we have our fundamentals course, and then we learn a little bit more. We use a tool called Terraform, and we build up automate a cloud infrastructure building tool. So what you did in the first course, manually, we do that on a much grander scale, and it's all automated. That's awesome.
Looks like easier.
Yeah, this is a lot easier to build all that at scale. And so then we move on to cloud infrastructure security, where we talk about the security of your cloud infrastructure and how you store your things, how you do networking security. We have a project here, detect and auto remediate cloud misconfigurations. Then we have a product and application security course, and the project is pervasive key encryption. And then term 2, which would be released after term 1, the main focus of term 2 is security monitoring and then analytics of these programs. So term 1 is more about like building your products, building everything in a secure way, and how do you do that? And that's what those courses and those projects are built around. And then term 2 is more focused on like, now that you have your stuff and now that it's out there on the web and live and people are using it, how do you make sure it stays safe? And how do you make sure like how do you actually monitor it? And then something's going to happen. There's no way you're going to make an entirely secure system. An entirely secure system would be one that's like not plugged into the internet, not powered on. Like there's no way anybody can access it. So we can't have those. So there's going to be some way that it's going to be something's going to happen. So once that happens, how do you respond to that? How do you, so like this first course here, monitoring and incident response. When something happens, how do you respond to these things? How do you make sure you protect it and like prevent this from happening again? And then so we have this associated project. Then there's the course on analytics. How do you analyze all your information, all your logs that you're getting, all this stuff that's tracking everything. So we have a course in that. And then we have this final capstone course where you put all those skills together to really build a project that shows what you've learned throughout the whole program.
Wow.
It's quite a lot.
I'm like personally actually really interested about this topic.
You should sign up.
Have you just teach me?
Teaching buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is more of an advanced program here. It's not one of your beginner ones. So you'd need about 2 years of Python skills in this. You need to know how to use the Linux operating system, how to use the command line. We use the command line a lot. So you need to know how to program in this nanodegree program, and then use Linux skills. So you learn all those things in the full stack nanodegree program. So if you're interested in taking this, which is releasing soon, the skills that are covered in the full stack nanodegree program are a great path for you to then just go on and take this cybersecurity nanodegree program.
Nice. So they can get started now. Oh, I guess preparing to learn.
Preparing, yeah. If you're interested in taking this and you don't feel like you have the Linux skills or the command line skills, you could start taking full stack right now, and then you could once you graduate, then you can move right on to cybersecurity. Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about the blockchain developer program. So this was built with a couple of these partners here. So we have MadHive, who's big in the blockchain advertising space, Coinbase, Kadena, a couple others. Just want to call them out because they've been great collaborators with us. So this is also a two-term nanodegree program. So we first start out with the fundamentals. So really understanding, what makes a blockchain, and like what makes it secure and usable and trustless, and all these like buzzwords that you hear about. So our first course is our blockchain identity course. So really understanding, like I mentioned before, if security and transparency are both important, like how do you do that in a way, what does that mean? So we talk about private keys, public keys, wallets, and managing those. So that's what's considered your blockchain identity, and managing those both individually and at scale to be able to interact with data that's on a blockchain. So you can think of blockchain as the next level of data storage, but with a lot of built-in security features. The next up, we have our blockchain data course. So really looking at when you look at data that's stored in a blockchain, how is that broken down? How is that stored? And then with this course, we get to actually create our own private blockchain. So I think that's a really cool thing. When we first thought about it, I was like, oh, the idea that I can actually create a blockchain, it just seems, I don't know, at least for me, I was like, wow, it's not just kind of this ethereal concept.
Abstract thing out there,
yeah, it's actually, implement functions for it. You can actually look at existing blockchains that exist and get to create your own. What does that look like?
And that's cool that you're doing that in the second course.
Yeah,
you're making a blockchain. True. This is the blockchain program, and you're making this in the second course, and you still have all these other courses you're learning more on. But like it's like right away. It's not like the very last course in the whole program is where, now you finally learn how to do it. It's like, well, no, now you learn right away, and then you like layer on like the extra stuff that's on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really getting your hands dirty with that from the beginning. And then moving on to the third course. So now we have this private blockchain that kind of sits in isolation. But how do you make it actually useful? So we got to add in some the web services component so that client services attached to it. So we get you building the web services part of it. I'm talking about notarization. So this concept of taking some piece of data. So whether that's a document file, some like music file, and encrypting that in a way that is unidentifiable, but then also verifiable. So these are concepts that we'll be reviewing over and over again. And so you'll be able to create an interface, the API service to do that. So I think that's really cool. And then the last course of this program is our smart contracts course. So if you're familiar or heard of blockchain, you've most likely heard of smart contracts. So this is essentially like a piece of code that's become sits as a middleman that can conduct transactions without the need of a third party. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I was like, check out the course. But I think it's a really, really innovative concept that's really changing the way the way businesses are done. So you'll be creating something that's called a DApp, so a decentralized application. So how do you be able to say have a business sell a product, but not have to go through a third party that takes a cut of that. So it's all it's all built within this ecosystem, and there's these tools, these concepts that allow that to happen. So smart contracts is a big part of that.
And you said this was the last in the program, but the last of the term.
Oh, sorry, last of the term. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thanks for correcting that. Yep.
A few more. Still.
Thank you. And so you'll be working in the Bitcoin protocol throughout this, and then at the end, we'll talk about Ethereum. So Ethereum, was one of the first innovators of smart contracts, and so you'll be actually building in the Solidity language these smart contracts. Next term, we're talking about architecture and applications. So the first term, kind of talk a little bit smaller, but term 2, we're going to talk bigger scale. So a lot of the blockchain, what it's changing is larger industries. So whether that's supply chain, like the whole supply chain industries, or medical healthcare industry, like how data is stored across these larger scopes. So we really need to understand, how do we build at scale? So the first course we're talking about is architecture. So architecting a solution for these large situations. So our first project in this term is blockchain in an existing supply chain system. So if you have a supply chain that has multiple actors, you have the producer, the distributor, the retailer. How do you have all these actors be able to interact seamlessly, but in a way that's trusted? Like it can trust that the product is moving down the line, and then people are getting paid in an efficient way. So how do you design a program that does that? And then moving on to that, we have our supply chain and data auditing part of it. So this talks about so when we're building for blockchain, we're living in a world that currently has existing legacy systems, meaning it's probably unlikely that you'll end up in a blockchain or in a job where just building from scratch. You're likely integrating what you're building with what's existing out there. So how do you build so that it integrates well with existing systems? So really understanding that. And then at the end of this program, really tying all those pieces together and getting to build from scratch your own large-scale blockchain project. And with that, we're looking to have students be able to build in different platforms. And so, yeah, really look forward to talking about that. So there's a lot of platforms coming up, things like Hyperledger, Kadena is one of them. So really getting students a flavor of what are the opportunities out there for building at scale. So let's talk about prereqs for this one. Yeah, so this is more of an intermediate program, and so we would like you to come in comfortable with OOP and having had developed web apps in JavaScript before.
And OOP is?
Oh, sorry, thank you. Object-oriented programming. So
it's not necessarily.
Oh, it's not a language. Yes.
Yeah, it's not a language. But I was saying it's not really a beginner thing. That's
you
definitely need a little bit of a foundation of programming to understand object-oriented programming.
That's a really good point. Yeah, so look through the prereqs. Do you feel comfortable and confident in these skills that we're asking of you before jumping in? All right. So
all right.
Question
time. So as we've been going through this, you've been asking your questions in the chat, and some of our colleagues have been answering those questions. But let's see here. I think we've got some questions that we can answer. So Robin is asking about the Udacity Nanogrees. How is the collaboration between instructors and students? Will there be a daily class via like Zoom or some online tool like that? So we're instructors, so we do things like this. This is not necessarily like collaboration, I guess you could say, between us and students, but like we do these kinds of things, some of these live info sessions sometimes. But your main source of collaboration with Udacity is through the Student Hub, where you'll have access to mentors and other students, and sometimes we are in there. Yeah, that's really the main place where we interact, because it's more like we said at the beginning, this is a online platform where you can learn, but it's at your own pace thing. And so since we don't have these like scheduled live class times, this is when you need to meet. And then makes it a little bit more difficult to have like this like live student instructor interaction.
Yeah, you make a good point, especially with like time zones. Like, so having mentors who kind of span across different time zones. So one, they provide you they can provide you answers at different times of the day, and then we also have something called Knowledge, kind of like a forum, like a Stack Overflow, where you can ask your questions, get those answered, in a timely manner. So we do want to make sure like you get your responses in a timely manner. So like we might not be able to do that all the time, but like we are here for you. But we want to also provide like a community that helps you get those resources when you can.
And something that I think is also key that I don't think we actually really made clear is that we're a worldwide, like we have students all over the world. So it's hard to, if you want some help in your own time zone or own location, there are usually mentors around the world that someone's already active when you could be. So yeah.
Cool. So I know we are running a little bit short on time, so I want to make sure we get to a little bit more of the questions. So how about this one here? All right, so the question is, what makes Udacity different from Treehouse when it comes to programming? So I think this is kind of going along with what we've been kind of driving home from the beginning. So our programs are projects and very skills-based. And like you said, we work really closely with our industry experts. Like all the programs that we've talked about and we present are ones that we get a lot of feedback from our industry experts. And then you also have the community of students that you're going through. And I think the services part of it, like when you talk about the project review, project review is huge. I think students really love that. Just like that feedback that we, that kind of micro level feedback that students can get through their services is something that's really different from a lot of other programs.
Let's see here.
So
Mark is asking about when our next session will be, because let's see here, I got a slide. So yeah, so for the School of Programming, tomorrow, actually, today's the 13th, tomorrow's the 14th. We have several of these programming programs, nanodegree programs starting. So if you're interested in any of these, you can sign up for Introduction to Programming starts tomorrow. Front-end Web Developer program starts tomorrow. iOS Developer starts tomorrow. You can check out our website for our other programs. Yeah, but so if you miss this, I would just check on our website. You'll see when the next one you can start, that and enroll in that program.
What other questions we got here? Okay, how about this one? Trying to read.
So yeah, so we got this question here. I've taken the React program, the React Nanodegree program, and the student liked it, everything including the course's structure, the code reviews, all that. The only concern is it's of the price of the nanodegree, that it doubled and is unfortunate. But yeah, so let's just start off by saying that we really are very excited that you did take the nanodegree program and that you did find it enjoyable and that you learned stuff and that you were able to go through that and use all of those services that are available to you, the learning material, the projects, the community, the quizzes, all that kind of stuff. We do try to make our programs affordable. I mean, with everything building and shifting around, like we have to find a price point. But the things we offer, I think, we try to set ourselves apart with our world-class instructions and the industry leaders that help us build all these programs.
And also just like like we said, the support that you're getting. The code reviews are reviewed by people, and so those folks that are part of your learning experience, like the mentors, the reviewers, the career support, like those are coaches who are all part of your program, and we really think that that really, I know the price point can be high, especially in different parts of the world, but we truly believe that it's a product that's worth investing your time and your resources in. So there are some programs that do have scholarships. I know that's not offered for all programs, but we do try to try to make sure that the price point is. We believe in the product that we are making.
Yeah, so think about it. I mean, it can seem expensive, but it's an investment into you, and it's an investment into your career and your future. So by going through this program, you're you're not learning just like a skill, but you're learning, you could be opening up an entire pathway for your future into a whole new career potentially, or a whole new opportunity if you're already in a similar career. And then this is, with all the things we offer, the projects and the reviews, this is just a way where you can prove to yourself, to your employers, to your family, your friends, your new skill. So, I mean, yeah.
So I think we actually are running a little bit over time though.
I think we're running over, but yeah, let's, but just, yeah, if you're interested, keep asking in the chat. And this School of Programming starts tomorrow. So if you're interested in any of these programs, definitely check out our website. We have help on the website. You can ask questions. But some of these programs are starting tomorrow. So check us out. And if you have any questions about anything, please do. We love to hear from our students and answer any of their questions. We have the email here at the bottom, schoolofprogramming@udacity.com. Reach out to us and let us know what you thought, what you think, and what your questions are.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you in the classroom.
All right. See ya.
Bye, guys.